So hello, I'm Onoja Simeon, and this is Honey Drops from the Sages. 2 nights ago, precisely on the 10th of this month, Brandon Bernard, 40 years old Brandon Bernard, was executed for a crime he committed 21 or 22 years ago when he was 18 years old. And that has sparked several conversations. And today, I'm trying to look at that whole story through the eye of an African proverb that says, when a market woman on her way to the market slips and spills her oil, the best or the closest she can get to recovering the oil is making sure she removes the stone that made her trip, just so the same thing doesn't happen on the next market day. And so I will be looking at the life of the victims and the final words of the culprits in a bid to draw some vital life lessons from the entire story. But please smash the notification bell, hit the like button, and subscribe to our channel for more honey drops from the Sages. On the 21st of June 1999, a newly wedded, barely 3 years in marriage, a couple were on their way back from a church service, and they stopped over at a convenience store. Now, this is a couple who had dedicated their entire life to the preaching of the gospel of Jesus. That's all they do. In fact, they were so committed to this cause that they wouldn't even own a TV in their house to avoid distractions. They are known for preaching the gospel around street corners and targeting troubled teens, where they talk to them about Jesus and in some instances take them to church to help them. And so that's what they were known for. And for such a couple, any opportunity to talk to a group of young boys, one of whom, it's even said, was driven out of their house by the mom for some wrongdoing and was a bit confused and doesn't even know where to go. I'm sure that kid will look troubled. So when they got the opportunity to talk to these young people, I'm sure for them it was a golden opportunity, and they dived at it. So a report said while they stopped at that convenience store, a group of young black kids, both of them, by the way, are whites, asked them for lift, and they granted the lift. But not long into the journey, one of the boys pulled out a gun and said plans had changed. And what the boys eventually did was to rob them of their money, took their ATM card, robbed them of their jewelries, and forced them at gunpoint into the trunk of their own car, and drove around town for 6 hours trying to use their ATM to withdraw money, their ATM card to withdraw money from the machine. And we're also trying to pawn their wedding rings, find a place where they could drop the wedding ring and collect money. That for me is insane. Well, that's what the young boys did. And eventually, after, I'm sure the couple were at the back of the trunk praying and pleading, and in fact, it was reported that they were singing "Jesus Loves Me." That's what they did. But the young boys eventually drove to a quiet street corner. One of them took a gun, shot both of them. In fact, it was reported that the lady did not even die. She was still alive when they set the car ablaze in a bid to destroy all evidence. But driving around town in your victim's car is already evidence enough. But we'll get to why they were thinking that way as we proceed. So that's what they did. And as expected, they were caught, they were arrested. And by the year 2000, they were convicted and sentenced to death. These boys were within the range of 15 and 19. Two were 18 and 19. One was 18 and the other one was 19. The rest of them were below 18, and so they could not be sentenced to death. They got life I think they got life imprisonment or something. But these two who were 18 and 19 were sentenced to death. And so in September, the first guy, Christopher, was that his son name again? Christopher Vialva, I think Vialva, was executed. And just 2 nights ago, like I said, the second guy, Brandon Bernard, was executed, and that's what is presently sparking all the whole conversation that is presently ongoing. Now, one thing people are talking about is the fact that the whole execution has been paused for over 17 years now, and this was revived or restarted by the Trump administration in 2019, when in June 2019, when they executed the first guy. I think his name was Lee. Somebody Lee was executed, and people are questioning the whole concept of executing people. I, for one, I'm not a supporter of the whole concept of execution. I believe that in this part of the world, going to jail alone is punishment enough. If I was listening to a lady some days ago who, committed a crime, I think shoplifting, at the age of 19 here in the UK. And as at the time she was sharing her experience, she was over 30. She had 2 master's degrees and could not still get the kind of jobs she wanted to get because it's on record that she has served, she has been imprisoned. She's an ex-criminal or whatever, an ex-convict, yeah. And so she couldn't get a job. And so for me, going to jail alone is punishment enough. But some have insisted that people must be, killed, especially for killing people. But that's a conversation for another day. But a particularly interesting part of the conversation is if the criminal is 19 or 18. Studies have shown that at that age, the part of the brain that is responsible for decision making and risk assessment is still very much immature. And that's also coupled with the fact that the part of the brain that is responsible for pleasure and reward, it's like hyperactive. And so what that tells us is the judgment of someone at that age is not one that passes through the process that should justify a capital punishment. I mean, it's just like saying, well, it's not exactly the same, but it's like saying I should kill my dog for shredding my carpet. The dog doesn't know what it's doing. Or like a toddler doing something wrong and then I start hitting the toddler and all of that. The argument is that toddler doesn't know what he or she is doing. Similarly, a 19 years old person does not have the maturity of thought process to be able to process ideas or decisions so effectively that one would hold them 100% accountable for the things they do. Of course, other kinds of punishments and stuffs can be meted out. But that's a discussion ongoing presently. The second discussion is, of course, the line of race. Some people have argued that the entire thing is because, the boys are all black, it's racism and everything. And some have even said the Trump administration has displayed their racist tendencies again. But the first 6 people to be executed by the Trump administration were all whites. Of course, some of the arguments people have is the fact that the jurors who came to that conclusion, the death sentence, 11 of them were whites, only 1 was, black. Also, record has shown that since the whole execution thing was restarted in 1977, nearly 300, black people have been executed for murdering white victims, whereas only 21, white people have been executed for murdering black people. But the whole essence of this video is not meant for me to say it is right or wrong. As much as I have a position that execution in general, whether of black or white or of brown people, should be abolished and should be a thing of the past. In this particular instance, and that's why I've taken my time to tell us about the life of the victims, I would like you to leave a comment on what you think. Do you think it was right? Do you think it's wrong that these young people are being executed? People like Kim Kardashian and Reverend Jesse Jackson all said and tried to reach Trump, tried to persuade Trump into, granting a pardon and stuff, but it didn't work. Like that African proverb, what I intend to achieve from this video is to draw our attention to the lessons that can be learned from the entire story and the entire incident. And to do that, I would like to draw our attention to the final words of this young man. I mean, Christopher Vialva, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, who was executed in September, and Brandon Bernard, who was just executed some days ago. For Christopher, his final words were, "I committed a grave wrong when I was a lost kid and took 2 precious lives from this world. Every day, I wish I could right this wrong." Now, for Brandon Bernard, he said, "I am sorry. That's the only words that I can say that completely captures how I feel now and how I felt that day. I wish I could take it all back, but I can't." Now, this, in my opinion, are very strong words for those of us who still have the opportunity and the ability to take it all back. Or those of us who, in the words of Christopher Vialva, can still right the wrongs. Statistics shows as we speak that there are ongoing crimes as we speak. There are individuals who are before their computers typing emails to scam people. There are those who are involved in different crimes. It mustn't be an act of murder. But every wrong thing that you are involved in, you still have an opportunity at this point to just come to that point where you say, "I think I need to stop this." That's what it means by righting the wrong while the opportunity is still there. You might not end up, executed, but what goes around, they say, comes around. One way or the other, you end up paying for the pain you put other people through. And so I'd like us to use this as some important lessons as we live through life, to try as much as we can to show love, try as much as we can to not do things to people that would not want to be done to us. And that way, the world will indeed be a better place. Thank you very much for watching this video. I am sure and I'm believing that you have subscribed already, and you've also smashed the like button and the notification bell. All this is just so you don't miss our next quest into the wise world of African Proverbs. So thank you very much for sticking around till the end. I truly appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.